guys, we're getting close to the holidays, so I figured what better way to celebrate than to check out some holiday-themed movies. That's right, we're gonna... What? No. What? No. No, I already watched all the Amityville movies. I have like a 2-hour video where I watched every single one of them. There's more. Lots more? Well, I mean, I can't... I need an appropriate venue change. Guess that's better. Okay, this is one that probably should have been out when I did my last Amityville video, but it wasn't quite available yet, and it's Amityville Hex from 2021. And it begins with news anchor Pete Summers, played by John R. Walker, who plays that same news reporter in dozens of low-budget flicks and has also directed Amityville Playhouse. And he mentions the DeFeo killers from '74. And then Sean C. Phillips appears, as usual, from his bedroom, and he's playing himself here, and he's asked about the Amityville Hex. Then there's another blogger talking about the Hex, and he says that if you read the Hex aloud, you'll just die right after. And Sean reads the Hex, as does the D-Man, but nothing happens. Next up is the most awkwardly acted Zoom call of all time, because you guessed it, this was filmed during COVID, and they all read the Hex together, and yeah, it's clear that they shot all their parts separately and weren't on at the same time because they have to freeze some of them while the others are talking to make it all time up right. Then, yeah, it's just another couple of bloggers in their rooms alone talking directly to the camera, reading the Hex. And then everyone is vaguely familiar from like a bunch of no-budget horror, and it's just a really familiar pattern. They all basically say the same thing, introduce themselves. They all say that the Amityville Hex is going viral and that they don't believe in it, and then they do. That's literally what the first 30 minutes of this is, just one right after another. Then the Hex starts to kick in, and if you want to know what that consists of, well, it's just each of those bloggers now sitting in front of their cameras and telling us that they've been having bad dreams and hearing weird stuff. But keep in mind, we never get to see any of that. They just tell us straight to the camera. The only thing we get to see is a woman in her bed with parts shot in reverse and some filters layered on top of it. Finally, we see something as this guy goes and finds his girlfriend carving into her arm, and instead of, stopping her from doing that, he just says, "What are you doing?" 20 times. And then she kills him. They even get George Stover from Alien Factor to do it for what I'm assuming was like for $100 and 10 minutes of his time. And the highlights of, what the hell, are this guy who's being set up to be killed and arrives at his friend's house as she's giving him drinks and has a bunch of knives on the table, and he's all like,
"Well, I'm excited. Where's the dice? It's gotta have dice."
There's no dice.
There's no dice, no cards? What kind of game is it? No dice, no cards?
Or perhaps it's the British guy who I'm guessing has his wife asleep in the room next to him, so he has to act like he's freaking out, but also has to whisper so that he doesn't wake her up.
666 is inside my head, the Amityville Hex. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does this mean? I don't understand what it means. What does it mean? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to fucking do it.
Or maybe it's George Stover, who's supposed to be shooting a video blog, but then there's multiple camera angles and close-ups. Or maybe the girl who is literally freaking out about nothing at all, just a woman next to a door screaming about nothing. Or maybe it's the fact that this is almost 2 hours long, which really feels like the Hex itself. That's the actual curse. There's even a last-minute cameo from Lloyd Kaufman, but this doesn't show a date on it. But let's just go with real-time 2021, and this is a rough start to all of this. Rough start. The next entry on the list is from 2022, and it's the inevitable Amityville Karen, and starts with internet star Lauren Francesca as a rich housewife, and she calls someone on the phone but manages to do so without ever unlocking the phone, and she has a list of things to do to be bitchy. They're in this seaside community that I guess is not supposed to be Amityville, mainly due to the palm trees in Long Island. Her car has tags that expire in August of 2022, so that's possibly the year here. But then Frank the Bunny is here, and Karen seems to enjoy acting like, well, a Karen. She's dead set on shutting down a winery, and Troy tells her about the special wine that they have there for an event from Amityville, and she steals it. Later, she chugs the bottle, which I guess is cursed, and a demon woman appears from her closet to attack her. And then, once again, Sean C. Phillips shows up, because of course he does. But he didn't just appear in this one. Here, he actually directed. And they're coming up with the idea to do beer tastings at the winery. And then, a mysterious man shows up to Karen's house to tell her that he now owns her soul. And a short while later, she kills a dude. Mike Ferguson shows up in this one too, and he was also in Hex, and Donna Lee is here too. Karen arrives and starts killing people off, hitting Troy with a corkscrew to the neck and various other people that she disapproves of. Later, she has a party and shows up looking possessed, and everyone drinks the wine and then gets super violent and starts killing each other. But Alex doesn't drink and stabs her in the eye, killing her, which reverses the effects. But there's still like 10 minutes to go because this movie is also almost 2 hours long. This guy then drinks the wine, and then the last 10 minutes is full of random people talking directly to the camera to repeat the same stuff over and over again. Next up is the moment that you've all been waiting for, because also in 2022 we got the headline-grabbing ultimate progression of the series, Amityville in Space. It begins at the actual Amityville house, a rare treat in the series. There's an actual link to the house, and you see this lady and this guy, and you know instantly that this is a Polonia jammer, so things are looking up. Father Benner here decides to enter the house in order to get rid of the evil once and for all, but is met with opposition and loses his hand. But the exorcism works, launching the whole house into space. We then jump ahead into the far future in the year 3015 with a ship in the vastness of space, and it has a crew of workers, including this robot. And boy, yeah, I would hope in 1,000 years that they'd have a bit more sophisticated robot design than this. I mean, it looks like computer technology hasn't advanced that much either, as they're still using like Macs and a mouse. And on a mission to destroy a black hole, they run into the house, just floating in space. They decide to send Vox, their robot with the mirrored face that reflects the cameraman in every shot he's in, and they board the ship with their futuristic weaponry, which are in no way possible just kids' toys. And there's this calendar up on the wall that's for March, and the days of the week line up with 2021, so that's likely when the opening was set, but they find Benna alive, and he's not dead, and they tell him that Earth died hundreds of years ago. And he says he's from 2021, confirming that. And they back up that it's 3015. This demon dude keeps showing up, and you can just barely see his eyes through these eye holes here. And he says he's from the darkness and has been around since the beginning. And they realize that in order to stop the evil, they need to destroy the house, as well as the black hole. They teleport over, fighting Benna's hand and this creature, and they destroy the house while the father dukes it out with the demon, stopping the evil. They end up going through the black hole, but the evil lives on in Tice. Another one from 2022, and oh look, it's a sequel! A sequel to an unofficial sequel, because it's Amityville Scarecrow 2, the British film that I covered in the last video. That one ended with the title villain being rather easily killed off, and this couple is planning on reopening the farm, and they say that it was 2 years ago, and we had that one set in real time 2021, so this is maybe like 2023. So yeah, These two spend literally over 15 minutes arguing about whether or not to stay on the farm because she's scared, and then the Scarecrow appears and kills them. Tina and Mary, the sisters from the last film, are back again, as is the young Harriet, and she recaps the tale of the last movie and reiterates that it was 2 years ago, and they're still planning on reopening the site as a glamping spot. That night, the Scarecrow shows up and starts killing people off, and they find that same newspaper they found in the first film, and it's from 1981, and say that Lester, the guy who became the Scary, would be in his 70s by now. And this was presumably 40 years later or so I guess he was 30 or so back then. Harriet's having cold feet, but before she can leave, the Straw Man attacks, and they confront it, and he starts whittling down the crew. It captures the sisters and then ties them up, and I guess I should point out that you frequently see the Scarecrow's very human neck whenever the mask rides up, which kind of makes the twist at the end less of a surprise because the mask comes off and it's just Dylan, and he reveals that he's actually Lester's grandson and is getting revenge, and they manage to stab him and lock him in the barn and set it on fire. Turns out that Harriet is pregnant with Dylan's kid though, so quite a few months have now passed, and she's hearing spooky voices. Another entry from 2022, and now we're looking at The Ghosts of Amityville, which starts with a bunch of pictures of clowns looking all spooky, because I guess that this was also titled Amityville Clown. So there's a car crash, but it's a very, very low budget, so we just sort of see it in abstract. And then later, a dad and daughter are going on a trip up to the lake, and little Olivia's mom died in that car wreck. So she goes off to sulk alone, like a lot. Dad gets called in to work and has to leave her alone at the cabin for a couple of hours, and she starts seeing a creepy clown in the shack out back. So she does the extremely sensible thing and goes out to investigate it. Of course, it starts following her around and just sort of posing and waving in various places with the same exact music cue playing every single time he shows up, even Jasoning up out of the lake at her. It then just stalks her for like a half hour without any dialogue, and she finally hits it with a hammer. Like she hits the clown and not a very obvious dummy. But then she's just in a hotel, but it's all just a dream. They then say that her mom died 2 months ago, and she falls back asleep and has a dream of her mom. And this is about 40 minutes into the movie. 40 minutes. This is only an hour and 5 minutes long. There hasn't even been any plot yet. The entire thing has just been dad and daughter go to the cabin, girl is chased by a clown, girl wakes up, and all that was a dream, and now is dreaming again. That's the whole movie. That's been the whole thing. Dad gets out of the car, and the clown appears, and she gets out to find her pops, and yep, just her walking around again while the clown follows her, all to that same exact music cue, which is just a stock music piece. I know this because I used the same exact one for my movie, The Complex. But I only used it once. This movie uses it 300 times. But then she wakes up again.
Not again.
Yeah, little kid. I feel ya. And the director is called J.T. Chris. And the dad's name is Jonas Thomason. And the little girl is Julie Liv Thomason. And J.T. Chris, Jonas Thomason. And I'm pretty sure that this is just a dad and his daughter making this whole movie on their weekend vacation. You basically only see the dad and the clown together in one shot, so I really think it's just these two making a family project. Olivia runs the clown over and axes it, but it vanishes and continues attacking, and she seemingly kills it, but oh no, she's the clown? Nope. Just a dream again. Same music. And yeah, no date in this one, so I guess real-time 2022. And there's no reason to have Amityville in this title. It's completely unrelated. The word is never said, and it clearly takes place overseas, or possibly in Arkansas, based on one car's license plate. Alright, also in 2022, here's a holiday-themed one, since we also have Amityville Thanksgiving, which starts with some actual footage of Amityville. So I guess we're at least set there. We meet Frank, and he says that he's a couples therapist, and he has a new set of clients. And Frank's entire method of counseling is hinting that he'll sleep with you if your husband won't.
Fine. I'm going to do the best I can, all right? But remember, help is always there in case he can't.
And then he basically just gives sex advice to the husband that equates to push her down and do her. And yeah, Frank's not really qualified for this role. Like, this is an example of his technique.
Pick up that piece of wood, Danny.
Pick up the wood?
Pick up the piece
What am I
of
gonna pick
wood.
up the wood for?
Pick up the wood, Danny.
All right, I got the wood.
Let's say
what do you want me to do
that's
with
your
the wood?
relationship, okay?
Yeah.
Someday, this could be your relationship.
He's giving them his cabin for the weekend, and it's Thanksgiving, and he's then visited by another counselor, and they say that they're in Amityville, and a couple that he saw last year has vanished. And this guy's looking for them.
Amityville? I never even heard of this place.
Dad.
Oh Lord, do I envy you, good sir. They find a laptop and go through the files on it, looking at other couples' sessions, and there's a turkey costume on hand, and then a mysterious woman arrives. Then a robed man appears and tells Danny to go get a shotgun and kill his wife, which makes him act like Frankenstein, and then try to shoot her. So she kicks him out. Then one of the couples includes Sean C. Phillips, of course. And yeah, out of the 6 movies I've covered here so far, he's appeared in half of them. And it appears that Frank kills the couples that he consults and then uses them for food and for his Thanksgiving feast. And he seduces Jackie, which is represented with this stock footage. And he's impregnated her with a demon. And then this happens. Frank then appears like he's trying out for a Norwegian metal band, and he then says he's killed that other doctor. And then, okay, this is weird because this head is superimposed over something, and I really, really want to know over what. But then there's a kind of nice effect on the mouth here. But then it's just a news report, and Frank was caught? Like, read by a reporter who's just chilling with a polo on. And yeah, it's people self-filming themselves talking directly into the camera again. The doc is missing, but shows back up because I guess the actor was having health issues and couldn't be there for parts of the filming, and the reporter is here again, wearing the same damn polo, and Frank has kidnapped his daughter, and this is his reaction.
Oh my God, Frank's got my daughter. He's got my daughter and he videotaped it. He's taunting me.
And instead of showing us what happened between those two, we just get several people once again talking to the camera to tell us what happened and repeat the information that we've already been told like 7 times. This guy's camera shows a date of November of 2022 though, so that's when we're set, and that's literally how it ends. So after Thanksgiving, the next obvious thing would be Christmas, and also in 2022 we have Amityville Christmas Vacation. It starts with Wally here, and he wins a contest that he didn't enter for a free stay in Amityville, and he decides to go. He's a super cheerful guy and very into the holiday season, and his Airbnb is next door to the Amityville house, and he gets bad vibes right away. And the contest host seems to have some anger issues. And it turns out that there's a ghost woman in the house with him. Instead of being freaked out, he's kind of nice to her. And oh yeah, his name is Wally Griswold. and the ghost is named Jessica. And they bond with him taking her out on the town, and yeah, it's Christmas time, and she decides that she wants to quit haunting for him. Unfortunately, she's captured by a ghost hunter, so Wally decides that he has to save her and manages to get her away, but then has to face down Samantha, who had been supplying Jessica with victims before she reformed. Their love returns her to life, and they trick the ghost hunter into thinking Samantha is a ghost, and he captures her instead. But Santa appears and wipes Jessica out, thinking he's doing a good deed. So, there's no date in this one, so it's real-time 2022, and this rundown is pretty short because this movie is only about 45 minutes long, so, you know, it has that going for it. Plus, it won the Fangoria Best Amityville Film for 2022. But let's face it, the competition was not tough. Moving into entries from this year now, let's see what 2023 brought us into the world of Amityville. And the first one we encounter is Amityville Emmanuel. It begins with a reenactment of the DeFeo killings back in the 70s, but then it looks like we're brought into modern times in Los Angeles, and Gordon here has been having some dark thoughts. And he also has a Samurai Cop 2 poster up in his living room, so I'm not questioning his taste levels, but it also means that it's post-2015. We also meet Laura, and her last name is Lutz, and she's buying a house. And just to be clear, this is a fictional character. There is no Lutz relative named Laura. Meanwhile, Gordon's friend decides to break out the old Fiji board, and also this lady. Oh man! This lady, who was also in Amityville Uprising, and stumbled through her lines there, and she shows up here to stumble through some more. And she says that Laura is George Lutz's daughter, which is weird because she's like maybe 30. So George would be in his mid-40s. So I guess that's not too weird, but the timing feels off. Turns out that Gordo is actually also the son of Ronnie DeFeo, and he says that he died just a little while back, and that actually happened in 2021. So this is after that. But for this guy to be his son, he'd have to have been conceived before he went to jail in 1974, which means that this character is supposed to be pushing 50? Both Gordon and Laura have sexual encounters because after all, this is an Emmanuel movie after all. But unlike most of those, this one has no nudity. And soon, Laura is delivered an urn with her Ronnie DeFeo ashes, which seems to have an effect on her since she dreams about having sex with him. Then she goes on the prowl to pick up dudes, but again, there's no naked stuff here. And then the two finally meet and decide to have a seance in order to purge Ronnie's spirit from haunting them. He's possessed her friend, and they have to fight him. I guess, killing him. But no one really seems to mind.
Well, I'm sorry about Bob.
His best friend did go missing, so he is definitely feeling it.
And everyone becomes friends, but Ronnie's still around. And with no confirmed date, we'll just put it in real time 23. Things are about to take a turn because also in 2023 was Amityville Job Interview. And god damn it, Sean C. Phillips again! We then have this young woman on a job interview, waiting on the interviewer. But then there's a music video. A whole music video with a guy's face with effects on it. Like, the song is sort of an 80s throwback new wave tune that's pretty much tailored to my taste, so I like this part. And then it's just sort of this girl going on interviews, intercut with this guy talking about, quote, the industry, and her talking to her friend about looking for a job. The woman she's interviewing with has a bit of a temper and asks some unusual questions, and it's sort of an experimental format, but things get strange when a woman crawls under the table to deal out some pleasure, and she's held up by the interviewer at gunpoint and is then told to shoot her. She does, but the gun's not loaded, but then the second round is, and then it just kind of follows that pattern. Girl in interview, music industry guy, Sean Phillips, full music video, and then the girl is assigned to kill a dude, and then her roommate is just dead, but then she shoots herself. It turns out, though, that she's not quite dead and reanimates, but then for some reason the film reverses and rewinds at high speeds back to the very beginning. And then there's a really, really long sequence where her friend helps her create a resume and gets the interview that we saw earlier in the movie, and that's the end. There's no visible date, so let's just roll with real-time 2023, and I'm pretty sure there's no Amityville link or any use of the word Amityville. Around the same time, that same director, Nick Box, also made Amityville Elevator. And the opening tells us that we're in Amityville, and this guy gets onto an elevator and goes up and up and up for 6 full minutes. This guy is on the elevator by himself, going up while he fidgets with his camera. Finally, at 8 minutes, someone gets on, but then right off again, and he continues going up. And this goes until the 14-minute mark when the same woman gets back on, and then back off again, and then repeat. At the 20-minute point, it happens again, but this time he's pretty agitated, but only speaking in Greek. And yeah, that's all this is. She comes back at the 25-minute mark, and he's still freaking out, but also hasn't tried to get off the elevator yet. Just like, get off. And yes, it's not until the 32-minute mark that something else happens. The whole 32 minutes before this was just a man standing in an elevator as it goes up, with a woman getting on and off every 5 minutes or so. The elevator voice tells the man that he knows why he's there, and then he's back to going up. He stops here and there, and now has some weird stuff in the hallways outside. And at one point, a woman gets on and starts screaming at him for 5 straight unbroken minutes. This is basically an endurance test, I think, is what this is. Finally, though, he gets out and enters this void area with bodies on slabs, and a mysterious woman yells at him, and then the elevator is just empty, going up for a while until a new guy is on board, also with a camera. And that's it. That's the end. No date. 2023. Whatever. Okay, let's do this. At that same time, once again, Nick Box completed his Amityville trilogy with 2023's Amityville Frankenstein. Yeah, it was inevitable. And then, oh, come on. For real? Sean C. Phillips, that's 5 out of 11 so far. Almost half, once again. And he's sitting down to watch a movie, and it's an old-time black and white film, and there's a couple of grave robbers, and they wander in the dark for like 10 minutes, interrupted occasionally by the horror movie host and reactions of Phillips. And oh, Krull. Can I just be watching Krull? Can I just switch to that? At one point we get a really long shot of a building as clouds pass, and one of them looks like a turkey, which gives me Amityville Thanksgiving flashbacks. And we are now 22 minutes into this, and I'm not really even sure what it's about. But then one of the burglars goes missing, so the other one wanders around and calls his name for a while, and then just finds him, and they wander some more, interrupted by farting, and then they finally come across a dead body on a table. And then one is accidentally electrocuted for a really, really long time, and this awakens Frankenstein, and also his bride, and the two are reunited, and the doctor comes back to find his subjects gone and throws a fit. And then the fake movie is just over. But then there's a preview for tomorrow night's movie, which is just a guy taped up while another guy drinks coffee for close to 10 minutes. And Nick Box, buddy, we have to have a talk. And that's it. That's the movie. And there's no date. So I guess also real-time 23. At least the Phillips part, where he's the one watching the movie. That's 23. Another entry from 2023 is Amityville Rideshare. The opening titles tells us that it's set in Amityville and is the actual footage, so it looks like it's gonna be found footage. And then there's this guy who's an Uber driver or such, and he's narrating his ride, like most Uber drivers do, and he picks someone up. But then something happens where, well, I don't know how to describe this. And he's invited into the customer's house and he kills her. But then there's a little clown and the body vanishes, and this woman who is accidentally see-through, and then this news reporter says it's the 1-week anniversary of this girl running away, and I guess this dude kidnapped her and is wearing some sort of outfit. But then there's a couple of police officers issuing a warning, and then more people talking directly to the camera. And then the girl is tortured while this weird effect is put on the screen, although I'm not sure what that's supposed to represent. And then we bounce around again to another driver who kills someone with CGI blood. And then there's actually a commercial in here for what I'm assuming is a real business, and it contains their phone number. And what is going on? I'm looking for some semblance of a story here, but we're halfway through this movie, so I don't think we're getting one. Some government agents kill some potheads, and then there's this footage that's dated 2013. People are doing something called the Red Night Challenge.
Now you're probably watching this and wondering, what the f*** am I watching?
Yes, I was wondering that exact same thing. I guess this is the director, and he talks about his previous movies, and he mentions that this is sort of an anthology. And then there's an ad for the movies right in the middle here. And I think it's possible that I may have had to have seen some of those in order to get what's going on here, because then there's an episode of the Paranoia tapes, that other series in here. Then some girls chased by clowns, and that's the movie. But then there's still 10 minutes left, so there's commercials for other movies. And there's no date here, mainly because it's not really a movie of sorts, but I guess we'll call it 2023. Another from 23 is, Amityville Death Toilet. It begins with a man being killed on his toilet with spirit Halloween body parts, and then another. But the real travesty is killing this guy who's sporting this amazing Divine sweater. We're then told that it's Amityville, and the mayor is freaking out about the toilet deaths, and he says it's right before the summer season, and the calendar behind him is for 2021, so it's like May or June of 21. And he's asking the chief of police to find the toilet. And they call in Greg G. Allen. And here's the thing, this is not the first Death Toilet movie. It's technically the 5th in the series, and this guy is in them all, but playing different characters. And he's told to go to the Amityville house to stop the toilet because he's a ghost hunter, which is a better career than the other G.G. Allen had because he's, well, dead. He goes to the house and there's someone living there who doesn't seem to mind that this dude is just in the house filming. He stays at the house and doesn't seem like there's anything haunted or weird, but at one point walks into a massive fart cloud. And that night, the groundskeeper is killed by the toilet. Greg goes in to challenge the toilet and tells him to leave and summons flies and I guess zombies and I don't know, birds, tiny birds. He tries an exorcism, and after a fierce battle, which mainly consists of the guy in the room alone dodging composited fire, the toilet surrenders and he leaves the house. But it seems like the potty is still evil and the mayor is killed. Our final film on here is a touch more legit, and it was a Tubi original called The Amityville Curse, not to be confused with the film with the same name from 1990. This one is actually a sort of remake of that one and is based on a novel of that name from Hans Holzer. It starts with a woman committing suicide and newspapers detailing the DeFeo stuff from '74, and then jumps to 3 months after the intro. It's the Ocean Avenue house, or a recreation of it, and a group of young friends have bought the house with the intention of fixing it and flipping it. The Red Room is still downstairs, and a guy named Frank is here, so if you've seen the original, I guess keep an eye on him. And Marv is here, and I'm so bummed out that his name isn't Marvin, and they don't say it 100 times. Spooky stuff starts happening, like stuff falling down and bad dreams, but then Frank goes flying out the window, so I guess we're switching things up. Paranormal investigators start reporting on the death and ruining their chance to resell it, so they decide to let one of them film them. His footage is dated November 24th, and he's attacked, scaring him off and into the path of an oncoming car. After another friend ends up dead in the house, they call in a priest to bless it, and he says that the house was built on land that belonged to Satanists, and ends up with a broken leg. The house makes another one go into the jealous rage and kill herself, and they still just don't leave. Instead, they decide to call in a guy they call a Ghostbuster, who's the Roswell guy, and he holds a seance which gets Marv possessed for a minute, and things continue to get intense. All the while, they just stay in the house, like just get another place somewhere. There's this gravestone that says 2023, so it looks like that's our year. They find a letter from the woman in the intro, and there's a question on who's evil. Is it Marv, or is it the professor? And Marv reveals that he even faked the possession at the seance, and that the truly possessed one is Abigail, but it's just a lie to stop her from burning down the house, and she kills him. The spirit is then in Lucy, and she hangs her, and Abigail is blamed for the killings. Lucy then just stays in the house, but they're keeping their eyes on her. And then coming very soon, I guess, after watching all these movies, I finally decided, if you can't beat them, join them. So, look for my film, The Last Amityville Movie, coming from SRS Cinema, which you can order at the link in the description below. Yeah, I know it's not technically going to be the last Amityville movie, considering there's a whole bunch more, but I will tell you that if you watch the movie, the title does make sense. It is the last Amityville movie. Look for it coming soon, starring me. So there you have it, a bunch more Amityville movies from 2021, 22, and 23. I'm sure that I'll have to do another video of this in the near future to recap all of the ones that have come out since then. Yeah, I don't think there's any stop to the Amityville series. It's just going to keep going. And this round was rough. Yeah, there was some fun stuff in there, though. I liked Amityville in Space. It was fun. Amityville Christmas Vacation was actually really enjoyable. Good time with that one. And Amityville Thanksgiving was funny for part of it. It went a little too long at the ending there, but it had some moments of being enjoyable. But yeah, a lot of these were weird. But yeah, let me know how many of these you've seen and which one of these you think is kind of the most entertaining. Let me know that down below. Or if you know any other Amityville movies out there, let me know those as well too. Let me know if you're looking forward to seeing my version of an Amityville movie, the last Amityville movie, which I promise is entertaining. Also, please like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, go to my Patreon page at patreon.com, and you can help support this channel. Keep it going and keep me in alcohol to keep on watching these movies. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.